Hey there, John Chorby here from ReallyEasyGuitarLessons.com, and in this video lesson, I'm going to show you how to play a really easy finger-picking version of Can't Help Falling in Love with You by Elvis Presley. So this is for really new beginners, right? Now, I'm not even going to go through any big boy open position chords in this one. We're doing very simple 3-string versions of chords and with a finger-picking pattern that is going to be applicable on every single chord in the progression. So if you are on the really new side of things, this is a great song and a great version of the song to kind of work through learning some very basic versions of chords and doing some very simple finger picking. So let's just jump in and get going. So there's really only 2 chord progressions in this song, and I'm going to just start off by demonstrating playing through both of them. So I'm going to play through the second verse and the first chorus so you can hear what the final product is going to sound like.
Would it be a sin if I can't help falling in love with you? Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand.
Let's go over the chord forms that are going to be used in this version of the song. First thing is we're going to put a capo on the 2nd fret of our guitar. So if you don't have a capo, you need to put a capo on in order to be in the correct key for the song. And all of the chords that I'm going to show you how to play, they're all played on the G, B, and E string. Okay, so these are very, what I would like to refer to as stupid simple chords, all on the G, B, and E string. And here are the ones you're going to have to do. So C is simply played by putting your first finger on the 1st fret. And by 1st fret, I mean 1st fret in relationship to the capo. I'm actually playing the 3rd fret, but when we put a capo on the guitar, everything after the capo becomes the new fret. So this is the new 1st fret is the 3rd fret. So when I'm talking about the 1st fret, I really mean the 3rd, but 1st fret in relationship to the capo. So index finger on the 1st fret of the B string, and the G and the E strings are open. So that's a C. For G, we're going to take our ring finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the E string. G and B strings are open. So there's a G. E minor, easiest one of them all. You don't even need to put any fingers down. It's just the G, B, and E strings all open. A minor, 1st fret B string with your 1st finger. 2nd fret G string with your middle finger, and the E string, high E string, is open. So it's going to be A minor. And for F, it's very similar to A minor. Your fingers are in the same spot. And I want you to try to have your 1st finger hold down 2 strings on the 1st fret. So it's got to pull double duty. And the way I do that is you want to take the bend out of your knuckle, right, out of this joint. It's called your dip joint on your finger. You want to get rid of the bend, lay it flat, and use your 2nd finger to play that 2nd fret G string. Now, if that's too hard for you, you could make an adjustment. You could play it with 3 fingers, right, if you want to. But when you see me demonstrate it, I'm going to play it like this, and I highly encourage that you do it like this, because if you are new to playing an F chord, when you play the big boy F, you have to do that. So I recommend getting started with just trying to do that. It'll be tricky, but worth it, okay? So we have C, G, E minor, A minor, and F. And the couple other chords that you're going to see in this song are B7, which is going to be the 2nd fret of the G string with my 2nd finger, open B string, 2nd fret of the E string with my 3rd finger. B7. A7, I'm going to play open G, 2nd fret B, open E. I'm going to use my middle finger on this one. You could use your 1st finger if you want to, but in the context of the song, I think it makes more sense to use your middle finger, so open G, 2nd fret B, open E, and then the last chord we have to know is D minor, 2nd fret G with the middle finger, 3rd fret B with the ring finger, and 1st fret E with the index finger. D minor. Again, so all the chords, C, G, E minor, A minor, F, B7, A7, D minor. So before you go any further, make sure that you know all of those chords, how to play them, where your fingers go. That's going to be the most important part of everything. Okay, and now let's talk about what our right hand is going to be doing. We're going to do a finger picking pattern on the G, B, and E strings, and it's going to be the same pattern for every single chord in the progression. So your right hand is going to do the same thing for every single chord. Okay, and the way we're going to do this, I'm going to demonstrate it on a C chord. So if I form the C chord, all right, it's going to sound like this. I'm using my thumb on the G string, my index finger on the B string, and my middle finger on the E string. So I'm using 3 fingers to play those separate strings. So anything that's on the G string is with the thumb, anything that's on the B string is with the index, and anything that's on the E string is with the middle, okay? And so I'm gonna play G string, B string, G string, and then I'm gonna play E string, B string, G string. G, B, G, E, B, G. All right, and that's gonna be the pattern that we're gonna do for every chord in the progression. So before you even move any further, just pick one of the chords and just start playing that pattern over and over again. This song is in a 6/8 time signature. And so each one of these strings that we're hitting, each one of the notes that we're hitting in this little pattern is one of the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so you notice that the last note of the little pattern and the first note of the pattern is the same note. So you have to double it up when it comes back around. All right, let's work through the song now. So starting with the intro, we're gonna do 1 measure of C. So it's 1 finger pattern of C. Then change to G, 1 pattern there. Then 2 patterns of C. But on that second pattern of C, I'm gonna make 1 little alteration. I'm gonna put my ring finger down on the 3rd fret of the E string. So there's just gonna be a couple times in the song where we're gonna do this. We're gonna play a C, and I'm just gonna add that 1 note to it. So to play the intro, 1 measure of C, 1 measure of G, measure of C normal, and then 1 measure of C where we put our ring finger down on the 3rd fret of the B string. And when you do that, in terms of the pattern, right, I'm playing open G, 1st fret B, open G, and then right there is where I'm putting the finger down. And so there's our intro. All right, and then our verse progression is going to be C for a measure, E minor for a measure, and then A minor for 2 measures. Okay, C for measure, E minor for measure, A minor for 2. Then you're gonna do F for a measure, C for a measure, and then G for 2 measures. Then you're going to do F for a measure, G for a measure, A minor for 2 measures, and then finish it with C for a measure, G for a measure, and then C for 2 measures. We're on that second measure. You do the same thing you did in the intro. You put your finger down on the E string of the 3rd fret as the verse goes into the next verse, okay? So the whole thing, it's a measure of C, measure of E minor, 2 measures of A minor. Measure of F, measure of C, measure of G, another measure of G, then F, G, 2 measures of A minor, and then finish it with C, G, C twice. We're on the second time you add that note. And so that's the verse pattern, and there are 4 verses in the song, so every time that you play a verse, that is the pattern that you're gonna do. And then for the chorus, you are gonna do a measure of E minor, a measure of B7. And you're gonna repeat that 3 times. A measure of E minor, a measure of B7, a measure of E minor, a measure of B7, and a measure of E minor, a measure of B7. 3 times. After 3 times with that, you're going to change to E minor again, but now A7 for 1 measure, followed by a measure of D minor and a measure of G. Okay, so whole chorus, E minor, B7, E minor, B7, E minor, B7, E minor, A7, D minor, G. And that's all the chord progressions to the song. So then the song structure is going to be your intro, first verse, second verse. Again, verse patterns are the same. Chorus, first chorus, third verse, second chorus, fourth verse, and then we have our outro. I will show you what we do the outro. You have a measure of F, a measure of G, measure of A minor, a measure of F, C, and then now we're going to play G, but we're going to play all 3 strings at the same time. So I take my thumb, my middle, and my index, and I just claw all 3 strings at the same time, and then I change to C, and I claw all 3 strings at the same time, and that ends the song. So the whole outro, F, G, A minor, F, C, G, C. Okay, so practice tips for this one. First, gotta know the chords, right? If you don't know how to play any of those chords, start at the beginning of the video and make sure that you know how to play each of those chords, and you have some experience changing between them. Changing between these chords aren't as difficult as some of the other things that you will do on guitar, but if you're on the really, really new side, spend some time changing between them, especially like the F. The F will give you some problems. Get the finger picking pattern down and be able to do it on a loop, right? If you're doing it and you're pausing in between it, like that, you want to work to be able to just stay on one chord and do that pattern over and over again, okay? And then once you can kind of do that, then work through the chord progressions as I outlined. Go through it, and I would recommend try to do it along to the song so that you can develop your timing and sense of rhythm. All right, that's it for this video lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.